Imagine this. You're finally thriving, not just surviving and paying rent, but truly, quietly, dangerously thriving. The kind of success that makes people pause, recalibrate their gaze, and then plaster on a polite smile. Maybe you confide in someone, not to boast, but to share your sense of relief or pride. Perhaps you're just weary of pretending you're still hustling to get by, so you let it slip. At first, things seem fine, but then subtle shifts start to occur. A friend jokingly suggests you pick up the check. A distant cousin, silent for years, suddenly reaches out and calls you family like you're a walking ATM. Someone gets awkward when you say no. Another falls silent when you say yes. And you find yourself wondering, why does it feel like the moment my life improved, my relationships became more complicated? If you've ever had that thought, stick around. There's something we can learn from Machiavelli. This isn't about turning into a villain or distrusting everyone in your life. It's actually more nuanced than that. It's about managing your success in a way that preserves both your humanity and your relationships without allowing yourself to be taken advantage of. Misinterpret this approach, though, and you'll easily slip into paranoia, isolation, and bitterness. Not exactly the goal here. The point is not to lock yourself away emotionally or financially, but rather to strike a balance. Because let's face it, sometimes sharing is good, even necessary. It can foster connections and build trust when done wisely. Here's the issue. Most people don't know how to share wisely. Machiavelli wasn't talking about money in the way modern finance influencers do. His focus was on power, favor, reward, dependence. He studied courts and leaders, observing human behavior among the powerful and those around them. One harsh truth he discovered still holds up today. People may love the benefits you provide, but they rarely love you for providing them. That can sting, but consider this. If you've ever been the one who gives rides, advice, money, opportunities, or emotional support, you already understand. And here's where it gets even tougher to swallow. The more visible your success is, the more loyalty you'll attract. But in reality, that loyalty is often just interest and convenience. It's people drawn toward the warmth of your fire because they're cold. When you stop fueling the fire, watch how quickly they retreat. It becomes painfully clear they were never friends. They were customers. Machiavelli's insight wasn't as simple as saying, "Don't tell people about your wealth." His real advice was to never let someone tie their comfort or survival to your success. Once they do, the relationship subtly transforms into an unwritten contract, one where you're expected to keep giving without end. Here's how it manifests in the real world. Let's say you get a promotion and share the good news with friends. Suddenly, you're the successful one of the group. Group dinners become tests. If you don't offer to pay, they think you've changed. If you do pay, they label you as generous, and it starts to become an expectation. Maybe you start a business and tell your relatives. Suddenly, you're their beacon of hope. Someone wants a job. Someone else wants a discount. Another just needs a small loan. And if you hesitate, it's taken personally, not because they're malicious, but because they assume your success is communal property. Or perhaps you find yourself growing an online presence. Your followers increase, income improves, and your lifestyle upgrades. A better apartment, a sleek watch, luxuries you've earned. But now you've become more than just a person. You're a symbol. And symbols aren't treated like humans. They're objectified, criticized, exploited. So how does Machiavelli handle this? He understood that even generosity can breed enemies. Yes, giving can backfire. When you extend someone a substantial benefit, you're not just helping them, you're also inadvertently altering their sense of status. Gratitude might follow sometimes, but more often, feelings of inadequacy creep in instead, and those can fester into resentment or dependency. The problem with dependency is that it's fragile. It exists only as long as you keep giving or until someone else offers them a better deal. Set boundaries or stop providing assistance, and they may panic or turn against you. Machiavelli observed rulers who sought love through endless giving. They distributed wealth and favors until they couldn't anymore. And when the flow stopped, the gratitude vanished. People resented them for withdrawing something that was never truly theirs to demand in the first place. The lesson here isn't to stop being kind or generous, but to recognize how unchecked generosity can warp dynamics and inadvertently foster shallow loyalty or undeserved expectations. Think of this principle as music echoing into your life. You start helping others because you're kind, because you remember how it feels to need help, and you genuinely care. But if you help too obviously, too consistently, too predictably, your kindness begins to carry an unspoken price, though not to you, but to them. It becomes expected. And that expectation is where loyalty withers, because true loyalty is born of choice, not obligation. Expectation transforms into entitlement. The key lies in sharing your fortune or help in ways that don't condition others to depend on it. Keep your accomplishments subtle enough so that relationships don't reconfigure themselves around what you can offer. This is the essence of meaningful relationships. If you want real loyalty, understand what it fundamentally means. Loyalty isn't receiving praise, agreement, or having people stick around when everything is going well for you. Loyalty is what remains when you're no longer as useful or beneficial to someone. It's what shows up when you're tired, when you mess up, or when you say no. The difficult truth is that you can't measure loyalty when you're still paying for it. As long as you're the one consistently providing resources, attention, or opportunities, it's hard to tell whether people are loyal to you as a person, or just to the advantages you provide. Withholding your generosity isn't about being secretive or stingy. It's about clarity. It ensures relationships thrive without relying on your continual support. That said, finding balance is crucial because adopting a mindset of fear and paranoia by assuming everyone is out to use, you can make your life far lonelier than any user could cause. It's not about hiding out of fear, but cultivating strategic privacy, revealing what you want to reveal when the relationship is strong enough to handle it. This perspective is not about manipulation, but understanding the influence wealth and resources have on human behavior. Power, even unspoken, shifts dynamics. To nurture genuine connection and ward off opportunistic behavior, unconscious as it may be, let people realize you're stable and doing well without turning yourself into a resource hub or giving others the impression they're free to do inventory on your life. Reflect on this idea. Have you ever discovered someone close to you had far more wealth or success than you initially thought? Did it change the way you viewed or treated them, even in subtle ways? Maybe carefulness crept into your interactions, or a shadow of comparison quietly emerged. Now imagine being on the other side of that equation, with others constantly adjusting their behavior around you. Silence about your wins isn't arrogance, it's a form of self-protection. Equally important is how you choose to give, because sometimes giving is absolutely the right thing to do, whether for personal ethics or strategy. The impact lies in how you give. If your generosity leads people to depend on or expect your help, They may come to need you, but not necessarily respect you. However, if your giving empowers people to grow stronger on their own, they'll respect you, and respect lasts much longer than fleeting gratitude. To practice this approach, avoid becoming the rescuer who repeatedly shields others from dealing with the consequences of their actions. Resist morphing into the perpetual bailout or an emotional ATM for those around you. Instead, prioritize fostering mutual strength and independence within your relationships. This is how loyalty and respect, deeper than fleeting appreciation, can truly take root and endure. When someone invests effort, time, or makes sacrifices for something, they tend to value it more. So, if you're seeking loyalty, don't make it too easy for others to be around you. This doesn't mean playing games or being manipulative, but rather not removing all forms of challenge or effort. When life becomes too convenient for people, they don't grow loyal, they grow comfortable. And comfort often leads to complacency, not commitment. Here's a simple example. You have a friend who's always struggling financially. You keep covering for them, lending money, or spotting them. At first, they're grateful. Over time, it becomes routine. Then one day, when you tell them you can't help this time, they act as though you've changed. It feels absurd, doesn't it? But this is the dynamic you've unintentionally fostered. Not because helping was a mistake, but because the way you helped lacked boundaries or structure. Instead of being thoughtful with your support, you acted on emotion, and your generosity became an expectation in their life. A more strategic or Machiavellian approach would be to help once or twice, but never let it define your role in the relationship. And if you choose to help, do so discreetly without making it a spectacle. Once your generosity becomes tied to your identity, people begin testing its authenticity. They ask for more, not out of malice, but because it's human nature to test. Let's shift to the title, Never Share Your Fortune. While this statement is bold, taken literally, it lacks nuance. Certain individuals deserve access to your financial details, such as your spouse, business partner, or financial advisor, those directly contributing to your progress. A lack of transparency within these critical relationships can undermine trust. What this really means is never share your fortune on a social, casual, or emotional level for validation. Avoid using wealth as a tool for social currency, because the moment you do, you invite a particular energy into your life that could cost you more than money. It may cost you peace. The smarter approach: share outcomes, not specifics. Say things are stable, that you're grateful, or building something meaningful. Say work has been good, but avoid specifics like how much you've earned, how much you've saved, or what you can easily afford. Those details don't just share information, they create hierarchy. Hierarchy sparks either admiration or rebellion, and both disrupt loyalty. People might not stay loyal when they feel unintentionally diminished by such disclosures. Here's another truth that even Machiavelli would appreciate. Many people are loyal to the idea of what they believe you represent. If you symbolize freedom, they'll stay as long as you seem free. If you stand for success, they stick around while you win. If generosity defines you, they'll remain while the giving continues. If you're seen as powerful, they'll be there as long as dominance remains visible. But none of these reflect loyalty to you as a person. It's loyalty to roles you play. And this is dangerous because these roles often attract dependence, not love. Dependence isn't genuine loyalty. It's driven by desperation. Desperation doesn't make people inherently bad, but it drives behavior that can lead to betrayal. The solution lies in preserving your humanity. being yourself above all things and keeping wealth in the background, rather than allowing it to define your identity. When offering assistance or resources, do so discreetly instead of flaunting what you're able to provide. A seldom discussed reality is that the more people see what you're capable of, the more entitled they feel to your help, and that expectation becomes a trap. Take inventory of loyalty in your life right now. Real loyalty, not the idealized version. Who remains consistent with you even during your absence? Who respects your boundaries without resentment? Who genuinely celebrates you without centering themselves in the narrative? Who accepts a refusal and continues to show warmth? These individuals are rare treasures. If you found even one person like this, safeguard the relationship like it's invaluable. However, do so without turning it into a financial transaction, because money muddles dynamics. Introduce money, even with good intentions, and you'll bring expectation into the equation, complicating everything irreparably. To ensure loyalty endures, make it the sole currency in the relationship. Exchange loyalty for loyalty, respect for respect, time for time. No cash, no favors, no access, purely mutual connection. Failing to adhere to these principles can have dire consequences. You risk becoming known solely as the generous one, funding others' comfort at your own expense. Over time, resentment creeps in as you start questioning whether their presence would persist without your support. That doubt eats away at you until it ultimately leads to ugly outcomes. Cutting everyone off in frustration, or continuing to give while secretly harboring disdain. Prevent this entirely by establishing healthy boundaries early. Keep your wealth private. Make your support sporadic and unexpected rather than routine and expected. Avoid being seen primarily as a resource, because once that happens, people stop recognizing you. They see only what you can offer them. And when the time comes that you truly need something, genuine support, unwavering loyalty, real patience, half of the people you thought you could rely on will be nowhere to be found. They weren't there for you, they were there for what you could offer. On the flip side, to balance the perspective, let's discuss when sharing your fortune can actually be beneficial. First, when it motivates someone who sincerely wants to see you succeed rather than trying to outdo you. Second, when it fosters trust and security in a relationship where open financial communication is essential. The second naturally becomes authority, and authority garners genuine loyalty far more than mere entertainment ever could. Not everyone will like you. This is perfectly okay. What truly matters is the people who choose to stay. They stay for you, not for what you give. Now let's address something that might be weighing on your chest. Perhaps you've already shared your fortune. Perhaps you've been generous, cultivated this dynamic, and now feel trapped by it. Let me reassure you of two things here. First, you are not foolish for those actions. You were simply human. You wanted connection, kindness, and to share the joy you built. That's not a mistake or a crime. Second, it's entirely possible to reset this dynamic without becoming unkind or cruel. It's a process. Start small. Stop over-explaining yourself. Stop putting on a show of generosity. Learn to say no more often than before. Give people time to adjust. Some may leave in anger. Consider that information. Others will remain. That's loyalty. If you fear that saying no may cost you relationships, here's the painful yet liberating truth. If your constant yes was the only string keeping them around, you never truly had them to begin with. You were renting, not owning their loyalty. Now let's talk about the emotional side of all this to keep it human. Offering a piece of yourself, especially when you've been through hardship, feels good. It fulfills something deep within us. If you come from a place where you started with nothing, where struggle has defined much of your past, finding success can bring an aching need for acknowledgement. Maybe no one applauded your efforts when it mattered most, so you share your fortune now, perhaps in part, because you hope someone will finally value and see what you've achieved. That desire is real and deeply understood. But here's where caution is essential. Be mindful of who you invite to witness your victories. Not everyone cheers when you win. Some calculate instead of celebrate. If you expose too much, if you give them the numbers, they'll use them against you like tools of measurement rather than encouragement. For validation, look to builders, to mentors, to those who have nothing to gain from your success other than pride in seeing you shine. Or, even better, find ways to validate yourself, not in a cliché or hollow self-help kind of way, but in a grounded recognition of your battles, growth, and achievements. I know what I've endured. I know what I created, and I don't need universal understanding to solidify that knowledge. This mindset serves as one of the greatest protections for what you've achieved, better even than secrecy. Let me leave you with something simple but actionable for the next time you're tempted to share good news, particularly about financial success or blessings. Ask yourself these 3 questions before speaking. 1. Am I sharing this because I crave connection or admiration? 2. Does this person's past behavior show they can genuinely handle my success? 3. If they know this, how will it change things between us? If your answer to the 3rd question is that everything would change, keep your news private. That shift would indicate the relationship lacks the strength needed to withstand envy or shifting dynamics. And that isn't necessarily anyone's fault. It's simply an honest reflection of that bond's limits. There's wisdom in an old strategy. Keep your fortune quiet so relationships don't lean on it, and allow people's loyalty to grow based on who you are, not what you provide. That's it in essence, a straightforward yet powerful approach. But here's an important twist worth noting. Some reading this might not yet consider themselves the fortunate ones, not financially anyway. But this message applies beyond wealth. Fortune doesn't solely mean money. It can be attention, talent, beauty, influence, connections, anything that makes you stand out or desirable in some way. The moment others see that value in you, the behavior of those around you may shift. So this isn't just about guarding assets or income. It's about safeguarding the parts of yourself that others might exploit without necessarily intending harm, and learning to do so while remaining open and kind rather than cold and disconnected. Be generous but mindful of where that generosity lands. Stand proud of what you've achieved, but aware of who deserves access to it. Live joyfully, but don't make achieving and showcasing your success a test of others' loyalty, because there are countless individuals prepared to pass that test while hiding self-serving motives. Keep it quiet when needed. Protect what's meaningful. Nurture relationships rooted in authenticity rather than obligation. And if you've ever been made to feel guilty for not meeting someone else's expectations for comfort or financial support, hear this clearly. Those who are genuinely loyal won't demand that you prove your love through material wealth. Instead, they'll demonstrate their loyalty through their presence. And once you recognize that difference, it becomes impossible to ignore.